Okay guys, welcome back. We're doing spring tillage here on the sorghum ground. This is where we had the chopping video last fall. And we've got the new tractor out and we are disking. I'll talk a little bit about that now while I'm running, and I'll start telling you guys the story of the tractor here. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit while we're working here. I'm disking forage sorghum where we chopped, and this would be a job for the field cultivator, but I'm not field cultivating today because they're talking about snow coming tonight. And we are here towards the end of the middle of April, and I don't want to leave the surface super smooth. We had a pretty nice start there, but then the last, we had wetness, and then it got cool on us, and so I don't want to, we're probably 1st of May, 2 weeks to a month away from starting to plant yet, and so I don't want to leave the surface of the soil real smooth. It didn't show in that picture at the start, but there are green weeds germinating out here. There's some cool season weeds, and I am working them down. But I want to leave the soil a little bit rough, and the other reason is that I spent the last 3 days spreading manure, and so I had the disc hooked up to disc where I'd spread manure. Wherever you spread manure, I sure like to disc. I don't like to field cultivate. If you leave lumps out there, they'll drag on the bar harrow on the back, of the field cultivator. So I like to incorporate manure and work it into the ground. So we had the disc hooked up. Got done spreading manure at noon, and now here this afternoon I'm out working ground. So, about the new tractor. The new tractor, I kind of was talking with Dane this the other day, and the analogy that I came up with is that the big tractor here is like my wife. I knew the first time that I saw her that I liked her, and from there it was a matter of learning how to coexist and how to become compatible. Well, the new tractor is working out very well, but it took me a while. I posted the video here a week ago, or a week and a half ago. When I first took it out and did tillage with it, I was pretty frustrated. And I'm almost ashamed to admit it, but I try and tell the truth in everything I do. So this tractor has a fair amount of electronics on it for a guy like me. And learning those electronics, the switches and stuff, it takes a little learning. So even knowing Massey Ferguson's and having the 61 series, switching to this tractor, it's doable, but it was a pretty big change for me. And so the hydraulic levers, I didn't want to use this electronic joystick. I wanted to use the hydraulic levers because I'm used to them. Well, when I bought the tractor, both of the cables on the hydraulic remotes, they've got cables running to them, and both the cables had frozen because the previous owner, he just used the joystick. He never used the hand remotes, and so they were frozen. I put on 2 cables, and apparently I misadjusted a cable. Because I was not getting near as much flow out the end as I was supposed to, out the remote. And so the first time I took it out and did tillage, I was frustrated because I know this tractor has a crazy amount of hydraulic capacity, hydraulic flow, and it was literally taking 3 seconds to lift the disc or the field cultivator. And so I ran like that for about a day and a half, And I got so dang frustrated. Tried everything that I knew, short of adjusting it appropriately. And then I switched to the joystick, the electronic remotes. And after I switched to the electronic remotes, you get tempted to use them all the time because they're super responsive. They actually have better control than the cable remote, than the cable hydraulics. So I switched to that, and voila, the hydraulics work perfectly, and now the disc or whatever implement you're pulling behind you, it jumps. The other mistake I made, and this was a big mistake on my part. So when we did the transmission repair last winter, I showed you the video of the transmission repair. That was a pretty in-depth procedure. And anyway, make a long story short, when I got back here and I was working ground, every time I turned and attempted to use the brake to assist me, the tractor fought me. It was like the rear differential of the tractor was locking up. And this tractor does have a, it does a bunch of things with a computer. You know, for instance, if you step on your brakes, it locks your, or it engages your front end. And it also engages and automatically disengages your rear end. And so I was fighting it in the field, and every time I went to turn, it was like the differential was locked in, and it was driving me crazy. And so Dane and I, the first thing we did, I assumed that I had made all the connections right. And so my first assumption was that there was a switch acting up. And so we went through the schematic, the wiring schematic, we went through the book, I read the manual, and nothing was coming to me. Went and talked to the dealer, the guy who sold me the tractor, and the dealer told me, you know, well, it's supposed to be just the other way. The differential it does not lock when you turn it. I'm trying to think. There's several reasons that the rear differential will lock up, like if it senses wheel slip or this or that. But none of the reasons for that was the reason that it was doing that. So we went back home and we looked at the switches and the hydraulic circuits, trying to figure out what I had screwed up. And I worked on that for a day and I gave up. And then we were attacking it the next day. It was a rainy day in between working on the feedlot. And we were attacking it again. And Dane, I can't remember what he said, but something that he said triggered my brain to start thinking. And I had one of those epiphanies. And the epiphany was what if I hooked up the brake line right to left on the rear end? That would cause all of my symptoms. And so we crawled under the cab, and sure enough, Jack had hooked the right brake to the left brake. Hooked the, master cylinders up to the wrong side of the tractor. And, in all fairness, I had made an assumption. Those two lines go down under the cab, and there's a, where they go under the cab, there's a right line and a left line. And so I assumed that the right line would go to the right brake and the left line would go to the left brake. But once Dane and I traced them out, where they go through the holder under the cab, the right line goes to the left brake. And so we got that problem fixed. Well, now we have, and that was my own stupidity and being in a hurry. In all fairness, we had to make and take apart so many connections that if one thing was all that we messed up, I think we're doing pretty good. But anyway, got that fixed. The tractor is running. The tractor is running nice. The repair is good. Tractor's not showing any codes. Everything's checking out. So I don't know if you can hear the tractor. I'm still pulling the 19-foot Massey disc. I've been wanting to upgrade the disc, but boy, equipment is sure high right now. So this tractor just walks around with the 19-foot disc. It just walks around with the disc, doesn't even know it's back there. You don't have to engage your front end, you don't have to do anything. And so we're just piddling along here, working this ground and getting along good. I think I covered the important points, but boy, when you're doing mechanical work, you've got to go slow and pay attention to detail. Because if you don't, you will make a little mistake like I made there on the brakes. And luckily, nothing got messed up. I was just having to throttle down every time I made a turn. But now that I have that figured out, I've got the transmission figured out. One other thing that scared the heck out of me, I'll go ahead and tell you this story since I'm telling you stories about my stupidity. When I drove it home from the dealer that first day, so this tractor has an auto shift on it, and driving home from the dealer that first day, I thought I dropped the transmission. Anyway, what the auto shift does, there's actually there's 3 settings on the auto drive, and what the settings are power, economy, and then off. But even when it's off, it still auto drives for you. So the 6180, all of its dyna shifts are physical shifts. You have to physically shift the transmission. This tractor has the auto drive, and there were several different versions of the auto drive, but this is the most complex one. And so that first day when I was coming home from the dealer, I had actually I had bumped the switch unknowingly. I had bumped the switch and put it into auto drive economy, and so it was the transmission was automatically shifting on me. The dyna shift, the 4-speed power shift, was auto shifting on me, and that was very, very disconcerting. Because obviously never having driven an auto shift before, I thought I'd screwed up something in the transmission, hooked up something wrong. And so when I got home that day, I started reading about the auto shift, and I figured it out. And I thought I had it all figured out. I thought I had the baseline auto shift. And so I was driving again, taking it for test drives, you know, when we were doing the weights, driving down to the scale and weighing the tractor. Anyway, even in the off position, there are auto drive features that keep happening. And the auto drive feature that was happening, that was disconcerting to me, was I was still thinking that this was, you know, that if you turned the auto drive button to the off position, that you disarmed everything, and that everything was a mechanical shift after that. But I was wrong. So even when in the fancy auto drive, when you've got the switch in the off position, say you're coming up to a corner and you think you're going to downshift from 3rd gear or from 4th gear to 3rd gear. If you do that, the computer senses how fast you are going, and it will automatically shift the dyna shift. And so when it automatically shifts the dyna shift, you know, you can hear that gear change and you can feel that gear change coming. But what the dyna shift is trying to do is it's trying to protect the transmission. And so say you're in 4th gear and you're slowing down and you try and physically shift it in, you know, the 4-speed. You try and shift the 4-speed into 3rd gear. The Dynashift will sense that, and, you know, say you're in 4A and you shift to 3rd, it will automatically jump up into like 3C. And so even with the auto drive button off, the tractor still does that. And so that, I had to get that all figured out. And, you know, the reasons and the timing that it engages that auto shift. But needless to say, for quite a while there, I was thinking that I had majorly messed up something in the transmission. And, but once I read about the auto drive and got it all figured out, it's actually pretty intuitive. How you operate this, and it's very nice when you're slowing down. Say you've already gone through your Dynashifts and you're, you know, in 4A, but you're still slowing down, and you shift to 3rd gear, the Dynashift will jump all the way from, you know, 4A, and you shift it into 3rd, it'll try and jump up into like C range, maybe B range. But it operates very smoothly, and once you know how to do it, or once you know what it's going to do and you understand that, then it's very intuitive to react to that, and it's driving it is a very straightforward process. I'll give you an example here of the auto drive. We'll put it into A range. We're in 4 low, and we're in A range, and we'll put it on economy, and we'll drop the disc in, and we'll start to accelerate, and boom, it just jumps right through the gears, and we are rolling. And now we're in D range. We just went through all 4 ranges there real quick like. And so once I get familiar with this tractor and learn all of her little behaviors, I'm gonna like the tractor a lot. It's very intuitive. Now I'll let off the gas a little bit, and it will shift down. There it went to D, or to C, there it went to B, and now it's down in A. And then I push on the throttle and start to take off, and it will jump B, C, and D. There, it went through all 4 ranges again. And so the tractor is going to be super nice and super automatic, and once I learn not to fight it and get familiar with it and work with it, I hope that we have a good relationship. So I have not hooked it to the field cultivator yet. All that we've done this spring is chisel and disc. But I'm looking very forward. Once I get done disking today with these couple fields that I spread manure on, then we should be done with the disc and everything is worked up, and we should be ready to field cultivate and start planting with it. So I have made several customizations to the tractor, and as we go along, I will show you those customizations. There, I didn't even shift the Dynashift. One last thing that I probably ought to talk about is this right here. I'll have to turn the camera back around. Okay, so now I'm free-handing the camera here, so it may shake a little bit. But there is that auto drive button, and there is your electronic joystick, and that has 2 remotes. the joystick is also programmable through that little pad, and up there on the screen it tells you what the program is, but you can control the amount of flow and the speed, and you just have an insane amount of control over the electronic joystick. This was the thing that gave me pause. We just came to a stop. And so this is Massey Ferguson's shuttle right there. And you know, once you get used to it, I'll idle down a little bit here. Once you get used to it, it's pretty intuitive. But this tractor still has a clutch pedal, and it has that. So this here is your forward and your back, and you've got your range shifters there. By bumping it, you go through your ranges. But this paddle is also a clutch, and so when you pull up on it, it clutches. And so I can have it in forward range like that and have it declutched, and I can let go of it, and the clutch engages and the tractor takes off. I can be going, and I can pull up on the paddle, and the tractor stops. And so that took me a while to get used to it, but once you get used to it, oh, you can make this big girl move fast. There, I just bumped it. There, I'm manually shifting the ranges, but it takes a while to learn that paddle shifter. But once you start to get some familiarity with it, you can make this big tractor move pretty quick. The other thing, since we're talking about features of the tractor, there's two buttons right there. You've got your differential lock, but that button there is a engine speed button, and so I can bump that button and it will automatically run up to a preset speed. In this case, that preset speed is 1900, and I'm going to bump it again and I'm going to shut it off. Anyway, the tractor has two preset speed features. It has an A and a B speed, and there's the plus or minus, how you set it there to the side. But that worked very nice when I was chiseling and I was having problems turning the tractor. I could go to the end. Every time I came to the end, I would just hit the B speed and it would slow down, and I could make the turn and go again. And once we got lined up and we were rolling again, you know, you could just bump the A speed and it would rev it right back up. So anyway, this tractor has a lot of features, and I'm a little bit old-fashioned, and so I'm having a little bit of a time learning them. There, I'm getting off track because I was trying to hold the camera and talk. Anyway, it has a lot of features, and they will make operation of the tractor very quick and easy. It's just going to take old-fashioned Jack a while to learn what all those features are. But we are learning and we are getting along, and the most important thing is that it has plenty of power and it is super smooth, and once you learn how to operate it a little bit, it actually works pretty good. So, a lot of talking there, guys. A lot of talking, a long video, but I have noticed a few of these tractors for sale, and in my opinion, they are a very good tractor for the horsepower and the features and the value. So, anyway, thanks for watching.